Hey everyone, welcome and thank you so much for joining this video. This is part of a 4-part video series on my experience finishing my first year at Cambridge University. When I first started university, I was incredibly scared and I wished I had someone on the other side of finishing first year that could tell me a little bit about what to expect. So that means that this video is trying to be just that for you if you haven't started university yet or are kind of interested in seeing what studying psychology is like at Cambridge. So as a little bit of context, my name is Verice and I just finished my first year studying psychological and behavioural sciences at Cambridge. We call it PBS, and I thought maybe I could go into what a typical day kind of looks like studying. The course recently changed and currently it has roughly, at least for me, around 18 to 20 content hours. And this is what we call anything that involves teaching. So for PBS it had lectures, supervisions and classes. So lectures are what you typically think of. These are like big rooms full of, PBS, to be fair, was quite small. There was around only 66 of us, but we would be sitting and very passively, I suppose, listening to these lecturers. And unlike other courses, so for example for math or for engineering, they would have one lecturer for an entire term. For us, every single different topic, they would have a new lecturer. So for example, in first year we had 2 lectures on vision and then 2 lectures on memory. And in this case, then each person, each researcher who was probably one of the most specialized and knowledgeable experts on the field would lecture us specifically for those topics. And then we have classes. So classes are a bit smaller. Some of our classes would be the entire cohort, and some classes they would split us up into groups of 2 or 3. So then that meant per class, because some people wouldn't show up to the classes, they're a bit more optional. There'll be around 15 to 20 people. And these are a bit nicer because it's a lot more easy to ask questions and they tend to be applying knowledge from the lectures. So still using the vision example, we learn a lot about illusions and the way that tells us how our brains process information. So we kind of experimented on basically ourselves to see the extent of a particular illusion and how that kind of played out in real life, which was really nice. And in a way, having that practical application of knowledge is really, really helpful. And it helps also ingrain that information within your head. And finally, this is what a lot of people know Oxbridge for. So Oxbridge stands for Oxford and Cambridge. And these are called supervisions. These are small group teachings, so typically it depends a lot on the course and your college as well. But for me in Queen's, it was 3 people. For other colleges, it's 2 people, and for some specific modules, it's 1 person. So it's 1-to-1 teaching, again with an expert from a particular field. PBS has these 3 different types, and I think out of all of them, I enjoyed the supervisions the most, because it was the place where I could actually just, if I was interested in a topic, I could just, barrage the supervisor with all my questions. I have quite severe ADHD, so I found lectures very difficult and a lot of times I would zone out. I found classes were kind of the happy medium in between. But I think what I've learned is that taking notes in lectures is a lot less important than a lot of people think. During exam season, I actually ended up not using any of my notes that I took during lectures at all, maybe partially due to the fact that I slept through most of my lectures. The notes and the research papers cited within the lectures were actually the meat or the main content of the lectures themselves. So if you took the papers, read them, kind of recorded what was the main aim and the main finding of each study, and then you find that story and that narrative within each one. So for example, for decision making, what did the researchers historically think about decision making and how's that changed, and what does new neuroscience research say about decision making? And that's extremely important when it comes to essay practices for exams. And then finally, obviously exams come in Easter term, which is what we call the third term and the last term of the year. They're very stressful. I don't think that is over exaggerated. However, if you do the preparation throughout the year and you attend the lectures, you do your best, you are unlikely to fail. And I think a lot of times people in Cambridge put pressure on themselves because they were maybe the best in their year, in their school, and now they've come to Cambridge and everyone was once the best. And obviously if you pit 200 or 300 or 60 people of the best together, some people will come up on top and some people won't. And first year, at least for me, was accepting that. And accepting that you might not be the best of the best, but you're still incredibly smart. And if you're enjoying the content, if you're having fun and you're learning, I think that's a lot more important. And first year is the time to experiment, to see what kind of note-taking system works for you. So for example, I started out using Word documents, and then I swapped to Notion, and then I swapped to something else, and take it easy. I would say that PBS at Cambridge has been an incredible experience. I'm only a third of the way through, but I can confidently say that I am having the best time, and I've learned so much. I'm currently doing an internship here at Cambridge. I'm working at the Adaptive Brain Lab, and we're kind of looking at data from EEGs and MRIs and TDCSs. And it's just so incredible how much I've learned from 1 year of studying that I can now apply to like real research that's happening at the university. And so if you're considering PBS at Cambridge, or you're going to be coming next year, I would say have the best time. You're going to enjoy it so much. All right, see you later.